The Why Has the Market Reversed market update. I'm your host, Bill Noble. If you need a roadmap in crypto, subscribe to this channel. Turn on alerts so you know when we're going live, and if the content works for you, hit the like button. What's going to happen to crypto in September? Hint, it won't be boring. What's the history of Bitcoin in September? I'll tell you. What could be the best buy on the board? Why did altcoins squeeze up this morning and then come back down? I suspect people are very, very, very short altcoins. This could have profound implications if the market turns around. Why would the market turn around? Well, the Fed. The Fed is going to speak. Powell is going to speak at a conference in Wyoming, and he's got one of two choices. He can stay grumpy on inflation because he's not getting any evidence that inflation is coming down, or he can acknowledge that there's serious risks to the economy in terms of employment and leading indicators, right? They have done a revision to jobs numbers, a revision. Oops, we miscounted jobs by 1 million. The media will be asking Powell about this. So if Powell doesn't want to cut rates in September, the market goes down. If Powell is at least acknowledging risks, this leaves the door open for an altcoin squeeze. Worst case scenario, I think the quiet range can continue. Best case scenario could be some sort of late August, early September puke, which is exactly what happened at the rock bottom last year. So for the news, the charts, we're going to have to do all this live TA today because of how the market reversed. Don't go anywhere. Okay, as a reminder, this show is brought to you by my Patreon, patreon.com/unhinged crypto. The link is in the description and it's running across the screen in the ticker. Okay. This stream is also brought to you by my friends at LuxAlgo, who have given me tools that literally have made my life easier because of the amount of content I got to produce. If you want to get LuxAlgo, check the affiliate link down below. And I've also been making videos on the channel showing, hey, here's what I think about Bitcoin, and here's the LuxAlgo rationale. So please check that stuff out. Now, let's welcome who's on the stream. We have Richard Barry here first, as usual. Yappy right after him. Bull Runner, Silas, Hobby, T-Bod, Lawn Shark, my friends and loyal viewers, Bubba Smith, Huckleberry Native, Manuel, welcome. Yenny, Israel. It's a liquidity grab. You know what, sir? It certainly could be. Altcoins spiked up. They were short and they kind of counter pushed. If they can't break it, it rebounds, particularly if we get a little help from Powell. Quiet Dawn with the notorious love. Welcome, and I appreciate that. Ask Freeman here. Welcome. Making sure everybody here can pay their bills. Right on, man. This is about the future. This is about thinking about 100K Bitcoin. When do you think about 100K Bitcoin? When it's at 57 and everyone's selling it, or 58 or 59 and everyone's selling it and everyone's bearish. That's when you think about 100. Patriot Caveman is in the house. Welcome. Okay, news. Okay, and if I'm coming through on YouTube and Twitter, please let me know. Please let me know if we're coming through, if you're seeing this. I don't know if we're having technical problems or not. Just let me know. All right. And if you're not getting it on YouTube, please check it out over on Twitter. All right. 3 reasons why Bitcoin will not be boring in September. Okay, so I can come off news and head off over onto a spreadsheet. Okay, let me just send a message here. Okay, so checking this out on a spreadsheet. This is the history of Bitcoin in September. So this comes from a historical data machine, right? The one I had when I was at Goldman. Okay, it's back. It's back. I have it again. So in this corner, I'm going to try to blow this up as much as I can. On the left side, you have essentially the end of August. So I'm asking the machine, start at the end of August and go out until September 25th and tell me what the returns are for Bitcoin over essentially that 1 month period. Okay. Okay. Yes, I am streaming out there if anybody's getting this on YouTube. Okay. So the screen share showing you this spreadsheet. You have most of the months, 72% of the time, the market is down in the month of September. The month of September has only been positive 1, 2, 3, 4 times going back to 2010. So somewhat of an ominous sign. Now, I think people have gotten bearish well in advance of that. I think people are bearish now. And I think when they saw the rally this morning, they took the opportunity to just sell. Okay. They just said, you know what? People are getting squeezed out. I'm going to sell. September's a bad month. The average decline is over 7%. The average rally, the average of all the moves is 7%. The average rally is only 5%. So of the 4 times it was up, and of all the negative occurrences, it's double digit down. So we're going to have a universal expectation of a down move in September. Now let's fireside chat on the possibilities for what happens in September. Before I do that, just remind anybody who's watching this, most likely you're going to have to go to the YouTube channel or Twitter. The link that was sent out did not work. I want to introduce the possibility of a V bottom in September. A V bottom. In other words, if there is a down move in September, or if there's a down move now, you may see something where you get not as severe as what happened on Black Monday, but you may get the V bottom, meaning the market might go down and then that might be it. Like the next down move is the last down move. And if Powell comes out and wants to talk about cutting rates, there isn't going to be one. Naturally, these things are Fed dependent and that makes them difficult. But when you have a negative September seasonal, trust me, 3 or 4 days from now, or even if the market winds up down today, that's going to be all over the media. All right. So that's my view on what happens in September. Now, 3 reasons up here. I like this news article, why Bitcoin won't be boring. So I think this Glassnode chart, STH increases selling. So short-term holders continue to sell. Short-term holder is being, Bitcoin is being sold at worse and worse prices. So people who thought Bitcoin was going up at like a tactical level, tourists, people who came in, maybe bought some Bitcoin thinking it was going to 100 right now, they're puking this out. But long-term holders continue to accumulate. That's why I think on any down move, you're just going to have people down there just, taking it all. And I also think people are short altcoins. In other words, even though that pop this morning may be short-lived, the market has been telling you over the last 5 days, especially with things like Aave rallying, right? The new AI super token, FET, was up 10, 15% yesterday. The market is telling you people are either short altcoins like WIF and Popcat, or they're just underinvested in things like Aave and Fetch. So regardless of what the market does off the Fed today, there's a setup here for much, much higher prices. Think about Aave and Fetch for a second, right? We'll go over the charts, but if we think about, like, say, Bitcoin miners, like, everybody was selling Bitcoin miners. Everybody was bearish. Stablecoin supply is higher. All right. And if we go to the charts, or if we just think about it for a second, actually, right? Think about it. If Aave and Fetch were up, why were they up? Because no one owned them. No one owned these cryptos. Everyone is sold out. Institutions are short. They don't have enough Bitcoin. The short selling in ETH. Oh my God, I got to find this. Like, I know I've probably showed this before, and I'm showing it again. Barely any short covering in ETH. This was 4 days ago. Like, people are short ETH, and they're not only short ETH, but they're obviously comfortable being short ETH. Now, why is that not a good idea? Well, let's go to a three-day chart of Aave. Okay. So this is essentially a giant cup and handle formation, right? A giant cup and handle formation. And this handle is an upward sloping accumulation cone, which, you know, these things can be extremely bullish going back to the Jesse Livermore days. And as you can see, like, if we go back to a 4-hour chart, this thing has been up only for, I don't know, 2 days. And it was like grinding higher before that. I mean, it started at 92 and it went to 130. Okay. The cup and handle target is 200, but people are forgetting that this is already up like 30%, 40% almost. Let me ask you something. If a DeFi protocol on ETH that makes enough money to buy back its own token goes up 40%, do you really want to be short Ethereum in that environment? I don't think so. I don't think so. And if these clowns want to sell you Ethereum, okay, this is the Ethereum. Let's go to a 12-hour chart. Okay. Now, if you look at ETH on a 12-hour chart, I like keeping it simple. That's a box. And all that's happening here is that crypto is flying around in a confined space, right? It's bullish at the top. It's bearish at the bottom. Everybody, all the journalists have to redo their thing. It happened to me this morning because I thought this was going to be a protracted altcoin squeeze, and it lasted this morning. But a square consolidation is constructive, in my opinion, right? Here's total crypto market cap on a 4-hour chart. It's a box. It went to the top of the box. I don't know if they're going to want to go to the bottom end of the box. I know equities are overdone. Equities are up 8 of 9 days. And I know that the Fed is talking. But really, do you want to be short Ethereum? Or do you want to not be long Ethereum if Aave goes to 200? Let's go to meme coins. I'm just throwing this stuff out there because it'll maybe help put the news in context. Okay. There's a 5-wave bottom in Popcat. So LuxAlgo has an Elliot wave tool. And Popcat went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I drew it again, but the system does it for you. And you had new lows in prices here in Popcat, no new low in momentum indicators, and boom, you got this big rally. Now, is that done? I don't know. But all these big meme coins have gone down. Most altcoins have tested the 62% retracement of the post-Black Monday decline. I think WIF did something similar. Okay, 62% in WIF was $1.40. Resistance is $1.59. What happens if people get bored at the end of August? Or what happens if September is bad in Bitcoin? Okay, is bad in Bitcoin, but good for memes. Willimeter reminds me to don't forget Patreon. Friends, join Patreon. You get 6th Street Crypto plus additional chart work, plus some really high-end historical matching software analysis. And of course, as Willimeter notes, I sincerely appreciate everybody who's in Patreon. And trust me, when this market finds a bottom, not only am I going to find the bottom, but once it turns, we are going to absolutely jump on it with altcoin reports, altcoin overtime. We're going to be there. Last year, at this time, everybody wanted to give up. Let me see if I can bring this up. We're kind of doing this whole stream today on the fly. If you like that, feel free to comment down below. Let's go back and look at what this nightmare looked like last year. So this is Bitcoin in August of 2023, okay? Just as a reminder. So I'm going to label this Bitcoin Summer 2023, okay? Here was the huge puke in mid-August. Does that look like anything we've seen lately? Yeah. It's like Black Monday. Then they did it to you again. They did it again at the end of the month. Not as big, but they just took whatever Bitcoin rally there was and they just unwound it. So it's like, oh, I'm hopeful. Boom. But when they did that, they couldn't make a new low right away. And then in the first part of September, they make the new low. And they scare everybody. So they bored you. They gave you hope in June. They bored you in July, and then they tortured you in August. And then this final low in September was it. Okay, going back to the spreadsheet, I'm just looking at it now. Last year was one of the exception years where September actually wound up being an up month barely. September was kind of a stalemate because they did all the bad stuff in August, which, you know, they may do again depending on what Powell said. So this is a reminder. I learned a very painful lesson by getting discouraged during this time period. During this time period, I should have actually been doubling my efforts, like pounding it out, right? Whereas I was like, well, this market's going to have to give me something before I'm interested. No, this year I'm going to get interested right now. Right now. And if they want to hit this thing at the end of the month, they want to hit this thing off the Fed, they want to hit this thing off the lunar eclipse in September, whatever. Whatever. Okay. You got to ask yourself, if Bitcoin is over 100 in December, are you going to be one of those people that go, you know, it's over 100, but, you know, I couldn't buy it at 58 because I thought it was going to go to 56. Don't do that. I mean, don't get leveraged and get chopped up, but don't be the guy that misses 100 because you were afraid of 56 or 46 or whatever these characters want to do. I think they're full of it because I don't think they can get the Bitcoin that they need, and I think they're giga short alts, as evidenced by what's going on in Ethereum. Okay, back to the Fed. Actually, one thing I want to mention here about Bitcoin miners. So everybody is all down on the Bitcoin miners. Bitcoin miners did get to come back. Some of these crypto stocks because the stock market did better. People, yeah, there is no way that you are going to have an organic source of Bitcoin where they can play AI or energy. I mean, not everybody's going to execute, but organic sources of Bitcoin are still wildly underappreciated. And Steve J is in the house saying, yes, did someone say Aave? Who wants to be short ETH if Aave is going to go to 200? Steve Mesa is not right on time. Yes, you are. You are, sir. You are right on time. All right. Now, Ethereum's 40% post-ETF drop is an expected sell the news reaction. It could be. I mean, that certainly makes it sound nicer. Or it's that people leaned on Ethereum and they tried to break the market and they couldn't do it. They couldn't do it, right? Okay, I thought this was funny and a testament to how bearish everybody is. Elon says, I'm willing to serve at the Department of Government Efficiency, also called DOGE, and DOGE didn't move. Really? DOGE didn't move. So, you know, that'll tell you how bearish the market is, because, you know, this kind of thing, when the market was higher, the market would have gone nuts. Now let's talk about the Fed. The Fed is speaking at a place called Jackson Hole, Wyoming. It's kind of like their vacation conference. And sometimes Fed statements at Jackson Hole can be a pretty big deal. The one I'll never forget was from 2010. That's when Ben Bernanke basically came out, I don't know, almost out of nowhere. Everyone was like, well, is he going to stop doing QE? We're so worried. It's only 2 years after the financial crisis. Yeah, Bernanke basically came out and said, we're never going to stop QE. We called it QE infinity at the time. I was shocked. 14 years later, Powell is stepping up to the microphone to try to figure out what he's going to do with inflation at its high, bad, maybe topping, but not in the data, with the economy visibly rolling over. So what they say at Jackson Hole can matter. And this market may be up and then down, because first they were pricing in rate cuts, and, you know, this depends on what he says. I don't know if it's a guarantee. I mean, it should be. He's screwed up and tightened too much. But whether he wants to admit that now or wait for some event later, that's the question. And in the meantime, you're going to have to deal with the volatility and not get discouraged. Okay, T451 is here. Tussle, welcome. Daniel J. from the Jersey Shore, welcome to the show. Okay, on the economy, the conference board's leading economic indicators are rolling over. Employment is rolling over, and Powell is going to have to answer questions about why the Department of Labor Statistics, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, I don't know, they miscounted the number of jobs created by 1 million. Meaning every unemployment or every employment number that's come out in like the last year was wrong. Huh. Funny. Government's not telling you the way it really is. Wow, what a shock. Again, that unto itself is a reason for Bitcoin to not go down. It is. And they can try to lean on altcoins all they want, but they're so giga short, I don't know how they're going to break it. They're going to need some sort of, like, you know, Powell's going to have to go full hawkish to get that. But where did the million jobs go, homie? Where are they? They're not there. And if you have companies like, you know, companies like Intel or Paramount that are starting to really, you know, let people fly, if they can't jump over the earnings bar. Now, the good news is stocks came back, right? That's not going to make Powell want to lower rates. Because, you know, those guys over there, they spoil it for everybody by getting too high on the sugar. This is all dependent on what Powell says, but they're not going to be able to deny anymore that there's something wrong with the economy, which I'm hoping limits crypto downside. That, like, the crash has effectively already occurred. Mainstream journalists are talking about inflation coming down, okay, but that's because a recession is possible. Right? In other words, this guy that was talking about leading economic indicators is essentially saying that, you know, if they like go back and say, when did the recession start, assuming there is one, they may come back to now. They may come back to now, right? And say, hey, yeah, that's when it started. Okay, a word on who gets paid what. So this is the new Starbucks CEO. I guess this was the guy from Chipotle. And he's going to get $113 million bonus to sign on, and he's going to work from home. Okay. So Starbucks was undoubtedly paying him to compensate for the fact he probably had to walk away from a lot of stock options over at Chipotle or wherever he came from. Why would somebody get paid $113 million when you or I are searching the couch cushions for money to stick in crypto so we can make it and enjoy our life? Well, I'm going to tell you why. It's got to do with free market economics. These CEOs, when they do their job, you keep your job, you keep your bonus, you keep your 401k, you keep your resume intact. These guys don't do their job, you're out along with a lot of other people at the same time. And like with Intel or any of these companies that take a turn south, your resume takes a hit. So it's like, okay, is it fair that this guy gets $113 million to sit in his pajamas and work from home? Maybe not. But you know what? I would rather have that and have well-run companies and people keeping their job versus, say, someone like, I don't know, our government telling you what you can and cannot make. Meanwhile, as everyone gets bearish crypto, State Street, a firm the size of BlackRock, selects Toros for crypto custody and tokenization. Right? BlackRock, State Street, Vanguard. They essentially own 85% of the S&P. They essentially own the stock of the world, more or less. Okay. U.S. listed Bitcoin miners have the upper hand over their peers. In other words, if you have the ability to borrow money to get into AI, to get into energy, or frankly, more importantly, just buy more Bitcoin. It is lost on people that a Bitcoin miner last week, instead of selling the Bitcoin that they have, they're trying to raise capital so they can buy more Bitcoin. Or they're trying to raise capital so they don't have to sell their Bitcoin. This is lost on people because people are like myopically focused on like this experience where every time the market goes down, it looks like Black Monday. And I'm trying to get everybody out of that mode. Like if it goes to 47 and the bears all laugh at me, I don't care. You got to start asking yourself, though, what happens if it doesn't go to 47? What happens if it's like last year where the negative September is perhaps a range? And there's a lot of reason to believe because of the lunar eclipse and the Fed meeting that September is not going to be boring. And if September is not boring, then you better have your finger on the green button if they take it down, because that will be short-lived. And I think there's a distinct possibility that no matter what Powell says today, he's going to have to do it in September. He's either going to do it willingly or the market's going to force him to do it because some sort of event takes place. Okay, the Solana ETF, are we having it or are we not having it? Van Eck says we're still going to have the Solana ETF despite the fact that one of the players pulled their application, right? And one of the reasons why they pulled the application is, Gensler is having his last gasp, saying that, well, I don't know if we can have an ETF because Solana could be a security. I saw something yesterday that one of the candidates is considering Gensler for Secretary of the Treasury. And I'm like, you know what? You guys are awful. Awful. You're trying to make us upset on purpose. Japanese firm Metaplanet buys another 3.4 million in Bitcoin. Again, this will not stop. This will not stop, right? Now, this is an obscure little headline to remind you about AI. Fetch, the super token, up 12% yesterday. A small legal company gets AI and blockchain boosts for easy access to legal services. There is going to be so much money to be made in the cross between between AI and blockchain. I think the only way you can verify what is and what is not created by AI or humans is to verify it on the blockchain. On the blockchain. Okay, Bubba says the Gensler news was fake news. Okay, all right. Well, I actually believe that because that was just ridiculous. But I mean, which side of the spectrum is actually pro-crypto? And more importantly, just a brief chat before I go back to the charts. I will remember to share the screen when we go to live TA. Okay, we're going to PowerPoint next. You got to ask yourself about November. It's pretty clear, keeping it as objective as possible, that first of all, everyone has given up on the big man's meme token. There's something on my Twitter that I had to publish free to the public through Patreon that has LuxAlgo signals about that coin. That's all I can say. But in November, it's business friendly versus not business friendly. That's it. That's as objective as you can say it. Now, if you get business friendly who wants the dollar lower, rates lower, and honestly, they'll probably be dealing with the recession by the time they get there because, you know, the numbers will be truthful by then somehow, right? That'll be how that works. But they're business friendly. That means they're crypto friendly. If there's a crypto friendly administration, you have gold making a new high and the dollar was falling out of bed yesterday. No one noticed it. Now, the dollar's pretty stretched out on the downside, but the dollar is down. So if it's down now, where's it going to be in November? Where does that put Bitcoin? Where does that put miners? Where does that put Ethereum? Where does it put all these altcoins that they're giga short? These are the questions I want you asking yourself now, right? So that you're not, oh, gee, I don't know if I can buy the market later, or I don't know if I can buy it when it's down, or I don't know if I can buy it when it's up. Trust me, come the September bottom, wherever that is, whether we got to do a range or whether there's some excitement, you know, it's either a range or a V bottom. A V bottom means down and up and start the trend. Right now, we're kind of in a down and sit. If it happens in September, it's going to be down and V up. So let's check out the market update. Okay, so this is the total crypto market cap chart I showed you earlier. Okay, the market's in a range. A square range is usually bullish. So could total crypto market cap sit here? Yes. Could it go to the bottom end of this range? Yes. Okay, if it did, would you want to be looking to buy? Yes. Not investment advice. I mean, they want to hit the market, let them hit the market. Because, you know, LuxAlgo, at least if this, you know, if the market doesn't fall apart today, LuxAlgo is hinting that you could add $200 or $300 billion to total crypto market cap, which means Bitcoin much higher, Solana wakes up, and ETH wakes up. You break out of this square range on the upside, the market's going up. You know, the Fed dependent stuff aside, the Fed's going to have to admit that they're wrong eventually. Okay, this is something published in Patreon last night. So if you're in Patreon, you get the early scoop on everything that's cool, along with, you know, videos like, hey, are we witnessing a quiet capitulation? Are people giving up on the market? You know, market was up, market was down. Bigger incentive to give up today than ever. So the last time I remember people kind of giving up was back in January, right? Market was up, okay, and then they took the market down in early January, and then they took it straight up. And then I took that chart, I took like December and January in the ensuing rally, and I cut it out and I superimposed it on top of the current chart. I was like, hey, this looks a little bit like Black Monday. And I'm wondering if the market can just sit here in a range just like it did back in Q1. Will Q1 look like Q4? Right? I mean, the history of September is bearish. That is a fact. I would introduce this theory. What happens if the market is supposed to go down in September, but it doesn't? Are you ready for that? Is anyone ready for that? In other words, if the market goes down in September, the media will eventually get a hold of whatever it is that I've done. My software is pretty wicked. Unless you got Python, it'll take you a while to do the calculation. But people are eventually going to be like, oh my God, September is bearish. Okay. It was kind of bearish in the beginning in 2023, but it was the absolute low. So is it fair to say that the low will be made in September? It doesn't have to be a new low, but like September is it. Now, just so you know where this comes from a historical data software. The idea to match up what's going on now with what happened in January came from this software. Okay, the orange is the current market. The blue line is the market, the Bitcoin from the best match it could get in the past. Okay, it uses something called Pearson's correlation coefficient. There's the math formula. Essentially, it's not a perfect pattern match system where it's looking at the exact graph, but it's trying to map the rallies to corrections. It's trying to give you the best match possible. Let's put it that way. So this is a 96% match. And this is what made me think, hey, I wonder if this crash in orange here was a little bit like the correction before the rally started in January. So I didn't just like, hey, make something up. This came from software. Art is here. Welcome. BitBoy Al is in the house. T-Bone on his lunch hour. What's happening? Right. Welcome. Welcome to the show. Okay, now this analog, that's what I call it, this pattern match from the computer, from historical data software. Again, people in Patreon, they get first look. They get first look and they get all the other analysis, not just this, like what happens after a full moon, what happens when the market's down at the end of the month. They get a regular dose of this historical analysis. This thing is basically telling you that ETH is either ready to do nothing, like here, and then go straight up. This is freaky, right? This computer is right about this, and this market is not capable of any material downside during a bearish period. This is the reward that you get. That's a key point, right? It's like you can say, all right, well, I'm a moon boy and I think it's going up no matter what. Well, I'm not a moon boy. I just published the history for September. What I am suggesting is if you have a repeat of last year, and you have excitement in September and Powell has to cut rates, this is what happens to Ethereum. And the whole world is shorted and has given up. And you could sit there and say, well, Bill, you're a boomer. You're a crypto boomer. This is your third cycle. Of course, you're going to cling to your darling Ethereum. Yeah, but bro, Aave is up 30% in the last 2 weeks. A DeFi protocol on ETH is up 30% in the last 2 weeks. If I said that to you when the market was going up, you'd be like, oh my God, Ethereum's going to 5,000. And they're selling it today at 2,500, like a bunch of dummies. Okay, I'll have to check where the dollar is, but dollar's at 102. Dollar index is down only. Now, this is partly got to do with what's happening with the yen, which is, really complicated. And I'm not really going into it because, we had to talk about that ad nauseum. Just a big, giant stop fishing exercise in stocks. Dollar's falling. Dollar's falling. Gold's rallying. And they're selling crypto because they're afraid of what Powell's going to say about the fact that he failed to control inflation and we're about to have a recession. We're running scared of nothing. I mean, yes, what the Fed says on the tape affects the algos. If you're day trading or using leverage, these things matter. I'm not insensitive to this idea. I'm not insensitive to the idea that, the market's done, the stocks have done nothing but go up for 10 days and they could correct because that whole rally was kind of insane, to be honest. And Joshua is reminding you that Aave is on many chains, which again is a reminder. If Aave is up, why are they selling? Why? Right? T-Bone is like, I am going to buy as much Aero, that's the DEX on base, and Ondo as he can get his hands on. Speaking of real world assets, I noticed like Token, GFI, and Dusk were also up today. Why? Most likely because they are under-owned. Anything under-owned is good when the market turns, is going to go up. Okay, there was support in LuxAlgo at 60. I'm sorry, in Bitcoin at 60. That did not hold. Okay, Aave has an upside target of 139 on LuxAlgo. If you look at this trend line, it's pretty simple, right? They're connecting some highs. 130 is a big point. Here's the cup and handle. People, this has an upside target above 200. There is no reason to think that this can't happen. Now, yes, it's at resistance. Yeah, it's failed like 5 times at this level. Okay, I'm admitting that. But let's see if it backs off. Let's see if they want to hit the market, whether they can hit it. Now, as a reminder on things like big memes, Popcat, LuxAlgo has an Elliot wave indicator. So this was a 5-wave structure on the way down. Popcat continued to make new lows, but the momentum indicator made higher lows called bullish divergence, and then Popcat moved 10%. Popcat came off. I suspect people are giga short all of these high beta coins. They are short, short, short. And if they push the market down, I don't know, man. If everyone's short, how far can the market go down? How far can it go down? I mean, what are they going to do? How are they going to push Ethereum lower? Everyone's already short. Crypto crazy in the house. What's up? Okay. DeFi will do to banking what cars did to horses, right? That's what basically we were talking about on the Unhinged Crypto podcast, which is also on my Twitter and the Unhinged YouTube channel. Bonk leveraged Solana on a giant support zone. You know, folks, it'd be pretty funny if people got bored and started doing meme coins again. Maybe not today, but you gotta begin asking yourself, what's the complete contrarian trades of what are the contrarian trades that I can think of so that when this thing finally gets done, when we're done with the Fed and we're done with the eclipse and we're done with this and we're done with that, nobody wants to own meme coins. Everyone thinks it's over. Everyone's short Ethereum. Nobody's talking about Bitcoin over 100. No one's talking about it. These are the things you want to start thinking about now. I had a friend, coworker, analyst, thinks SocialFi and celebrity meme coins are going to wind up being like NFTs were last year or last cycle, excuse me. How crazy is that? You know what? Crazy enough to happen. Crazy enough to happen. And I think there's another headline about CryptoPunks that I smell capitulation in this market. The 6th Street podcast episode where they got that Bitcoin pattern match yesterday, $24 million CryptoPunk sold quietly. They suspect it was sold at a loss because the price was not disclosed. Puking, right? Puking out the last cycle, right? No one's talking about layer ones. Talked about this last night on the Unhinged podcast. No one's talking about layer ones. No one's talking about Avalanche. No one even talks about Solana as a layer one, and people have given up on Ethereum. Okay. Steve says the contrarian trade may be memes, but the I'm sick of you trade is DeFi. And he's right. And he's right. And I think Bitcoin miners, right? Just a reminder to be careful. In Solana, there is a malicious Chrome extension. Please be careful out there. Okay, I'm going to live TA. Okay, let's try to figure out what's going on here. I'm going to go to 89-minute LuxAlgo. Okay, so in Ethereum, LuxAlgo got enthusiastic on this big up candle, and then it's getting stopped out. it happens. Again, the market is in a confined space. The harder it is to buy something, the more you should. Okay. I want to go to real world assets for a second and just see what's going on there. Okay. So sometimes what you do on down days is you look at what's up, even though the market is down. Dusk rallied and LuxAlgo tried to put support underneath it at 0.195. These real world asset coins have a bid today. Raven coin is up on an 89-minute chart. Now, this LuxAlgo indicator is basically saying this was a 5-wave top. So it's, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So maybe that's toppy, but it's still up when everything else is down. Okay. That makes me interested in it. It does. Let's take a look at Aero, see if we can find a support point. Okay, so LuxAlgo loved it on the way up, and now it's basically saying, uh-oh, and assuming that the downtrend is going to resume. Now, I don't blame it. Okay, something like Aero, the 62% retracement is all the way down here at 57 cents. I really hope that that is not where this thing is going. The 38% retracement is at 63 cents. It would be preferable if it stayed near there. Okay, let's go to S&P because, they've definitely been, they've had the vapors going on over there for a couple days. So on a 4-hour chart, you can clearly see LuxAlgo putting in a 5-wave structure. There is support underneath the market, right? But they basically unwound the entire downtrade if you go to a daily chart. Okay, and we're going to go to the dollar after this. So I guess the good news for this is stocks on a daily chart. I mean, I guess the good news for crypto is that they put support underneath this rally around 55.72. I don't know how they managed to get this thing back up here, but they did. They did. That's because they love the idea of rate cuts. Look what they did to fear. Okay, this is like the tradable fear. This is VXX. Okay. I mean, yes, there's now resistance, but there was heavy capitulation in fear in equities. I say any attempt to smack this thing and scare everybody represents opportunity in crypto. Because, they took it down and then they took it all the way back. And I don't know that either one was right. First was I love it, then I hate it, then I love it again. Let them find some kind of equilibrium. Okay, gold coming off this morning, but there is a lot of support underneath in gold at 2,400. The dollar is falling out of bed. We'll look at that next. Then we'll try to get some altcoins in. Okay, dollar continues to go down. Okay, an 89-minute chart of the dollar. As you can see, this is basically down only. 101.5 is a LuxAlgo support point. So if the dollar holds 101.5, crypto may not trade as well. If the dollar gives out on something that Powell says, I have no idea why everyone is selling. As somebody said earlier, this could be a liquidity grab where they just take advantage of uncertainty. Syscoin, people are asking if this is a trap. Okay. Joseph Green is here. Welcome. Okay. Okay, we're gonna go to a 4-hour chart on this. Okay, so you have a dramatic turn of events here. Syscoin hit resistance at like 19 cents. So there's 2 LuxAlgo points here. Nothing outperforms forever. That said, there's support underneath at 13 cents. And I think the market is paying you to try to buy dips in this. So is it a bear trap that it's down? It might be. It might be. And again, the LuxAlgo signal at the bottom, right? That X is like their equivalent of the 13 bottom. Right on this, like, you know, wavy type Bollinger Band thing. I mean, you've gotten bounces or stability off this thing in the past, but this hit 1, 2, 3 times and then boom. And that just reminds me, the same thing is there in Bitcoin. The same thing is there in Bitcoin. Like if you go to a Bitcoin daily chart, right? Like, you know, how many times do they have to come down here? They came down here once. They came down here twice. And they came down into this like Bollinger Band, like cushion zone that LuxAlgo has. Yeah, it went down there 3 times, right? They're going to go back again? Really? With the dollar falling out of bed and gold up and, you know, with every economic indicator rolling over, I mean, Powell can talk tough and the market can have this like, you know, fixation on like, what's he going to say? What is it? You know, is it up? Is it, you know, what's in the statement? Is there a preposition change? Blah, 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 blah. They have screwed up and over tightened. And they're going to have to admit it now or in September. And if they don't, then the market's going to go down, right? And everyone's going to get upset. And how did that work out over here? How did getting upset over here work out? Like, do you want to be remembered as the person who sold Bitcoin and you puked your position out and quit at 50K? As an analyst on YouTube, I would rather get run out of here and wind up talking to myself than be the guy who got negative either here or down here before this thing went to 100K. Like the worst case LuxAlgo level is 47.8. And you can talk about it. It can happen. I don't want to talk about it because I think if it went down there, you have to get in a frame of mind that you would be happy. Like this caught everybody so off guard. People were like, oh my God, the world is ending. You ever saw this again? Yeah, it would probably look like the world was ending, but you would take it from them at that point. Okay, Steve wants to look at Joe. Okay. Not getting anything right away on LuxAlgo, except just psychologically, this looks like a giant give up trade to me, right? If you look at a 4-hour chart, you know, again, these DeFi coins, right? I know it's a range. I know the market's choppy today, but when you get these LuxAlgo buy signals, right? In DeFi coins, if they don't reverse, right? Like if you're able to like get involved in some of these coins and they don't shake you out, hey now. Okay, let's go to like, we published a report in the Patreon store. So some of the coins that were in there, one of them was FET, right? Which had a really decent day yesterday. And now they're doing a simple retracement, I think. Right? It's back to 32%. 62% is 84 cents. Of course, naturally, if you look at this and ask yourself, what is the crypto market telling you about AI? What are they telling you? This is what they're telling you. They're telling you it's completely done. It's like, it's never going to work. It's never going to happen. It's over. That's what they're telling you. There's the X signal. Heavy capitulation was actually in June off the token transition, most likely. There's 2 LuxAlgo X signals, which is like their DeMark 13 bottoming signal, or the market is losing downside momentum. And there's the triangle down here in the oscillator matrix. which is a nice way of saying there are all these signals down here indicating that that's it. And they've hit this thing back to where it was in December of last year. So AI and crypto is dead, right? Really? Is that what we're going to do when the market's down? Or are we going to think about what happens when they squeeze everybody's out of altcoins? Right? Now, I guess the good news for the market today is that Zcash and XRP were not massively up yesterday, but Zcash is not budging, man. This is Grayscale, by the way. Grayscale is buying this, and I don't think there's a seller out there. I mean, Zcash is a Bitcoin fork with privacy. Snowden has told you multiple times at multiple conferences that if you do not put a privacy layer on crypto, it's not going to be as robust as you want it to be. Okay, 41 was the take profit level in Zcash on LuxAlgo, and it's just sitting there. The next upside target is 46. Generally speaking, I would prefer if the market went up and then Zcash followed. When Zcash and XRP rally a lot, with everything else sitting around, it's top. But Grayscale is going to buy all of the Zcash, right? Nobody wanted to buy Zcash at 15 cents, right? Everyone was too scared. Zcash has been around 20-something for a long time. No one is interested. It didn't do anything. Of course, no one was interested. Didn't do anything. Now it's at 40 and people are like, I can't buy it. Then it'll go to 60 and people say, I can't buy it. You seeing a pattern here? Like first people are like, I'm too scared. Zcash is a great example. I'm too scared. The market is going down. I don't want to buy it. I'm too scared. Then the market's going up and people are like, well, I can't buy it now because I missed it. There's always a conversation going on in your head where they're talking you out of buying something. You're talking yourself out of buying something because you're looking at the screen, remembering the stress of the crash. Now let's talk about XRP. XRP can do better, but I don't want to do anything with this head and shoulders bottom until you actually get some like real, like, show me this. Right? I don't know about front running this. I don't know about front running this. No, I know there's a lot to get excited about in crypto. I know it is exciting that XRP is trading well. Okay. I would want to buy like a confirmed breakout and just try to be as disciplined as possible. Okay. Steve is talking about DXY. Miklo is asking about AMP. I don't know if I got the right symbol here. Okay. This is AMP on Coinbase. There are a lot of Coinbase alts. You know, I think sometimes when you look at a chart, it's like you got to ask yourself, whoops, how much damage can they do here? Like, how bad can this get, assuming I got the right symbol? I mean, if you look at the LuxAlgo Elliot wave, it's almost too confusing to look at because there are so many bottoming signals. There's so many. Now, I'd want to see some money flow come back into this, but like every altcoin that trades on Coinbase has just been wrecked. And here's the 4-hour chart of AMP. Again, Miklo says, yes, that's it. Okay, I'm glad I got the right one. Just look at the capitulation. Like you had 2 waves of capitulation in this. People have packed it in on crypto. They've packed it in. I mean, the benefit of this section of the stream when we do this kind of like altcoin overtime live TA type thing is, you know, you can see the extent to which people have given up. Okay. Let's sum up. September can be negative. I wouldn't be shocked if people took profits and went on vacation in August. That's not surprising. I continue to believe that people are short altcoins. They're short altcoins. They're short Ethereum. And if they're short Ethereum, they're short all of them. So downside may be limited unless Powell comes out and says something crazy. I don't want to get too fixated on what he says at Jackson Hole, right? Because it's probably in his interest to keep it middle of the road and just acknowledge risks to both inflation going up and people losing their jobs. Somehow, some way in September, the market is going to force his hand. And he is going to have to do the rate cut of shame. He probably won't do it until he has to do it, which probably makes for an exciting September. The most important thing to remember that I've been repeating on stream after stream after stream is do not do what I did last summer, which is go, this thing's not going to move, Chicken Little, etc. Now, the good news is I was able to recover when I saw it turn. But this time, I'm not falling for this. I'm not interested. I'm bored. I'm stopped out. My positions are down. You know, crypto is dead. None of that. And I know the people who listen to this stream, they're not going to get caught in that. The regulars, the guys in Patreon, the people who I appreciate so much. Right. And that's one of the reasons to be in Patreon is that not only are we doing these kind of talks, pep talks, chart sessions on the market update, but we're doing it heavy inside Patreon. All right. So I know that there was a slight problem with YouTube today. I definitely appreciate everyone tuning in. I will see you next time.